able to have it happen at shift change, so we were able to deploy extra equipment and also had assistance from mutual aid from Wyndham and from Derry. It was a great cooperative effort, working very closely with all of the surrounding communities. Joining us here today is also Ted Kitchens, the airport director, Mayor Rue from Manchester, and I'm going to introduce you to Fire Chief Butler, who is going to brief you. Fire Chief Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This was an incredibly high-risk, low-frequency event that was professionally and competently mitigated by the members of the Londonderry Fire Department. At approximately 07:30 this morning, Londonderry Fire Alarm received a call from a third party reporting a plane down in the area of Colonial Drive and Wiley Hill Road. At 07:38, LFD personnel arrived on the scene and confirmed the crash of a twin-engine aircraft behind 5 Colonial Drive. Crews discovered that the pilot was entrapped in the plane and immediately began extrication efforts. The patient was successfully extricated and transported to a local hospital here in southern New Hampshire. A unified command with Londonderry Fire, Londonderry Police, and the Assistant Director of the Manchester-Boston Regional Airport was established on the scene within minutes. At my request, once the life safety box was checked and mitigated, LFD worked with the Director of the New Hampshire Homeland Security, Rob Buxton, in contacting the State Police, the FAA, DES, and the DOT Aeronautics team for mobilization to the scene. At this time, there are no injuries reported to Londonderry Fire personnel, and that's all I have at this time.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Mayor Rue for a few words. Mayor.
Thank you. My name is Mayor Jay Rue from Manchester. I wanted to come down and make sure that I had shared my thanks for the incredible efforts and the communication and the collaboration that has occurred between the contiguous communities. I'm deeply appreciative of the response of the first responders to be on scene as quickly as possible, and very appreciative of just this entire collaborative effort that we have had thus far. And I'll turn it over to our Director, Ted Kitchens of the Manchester-Boston Regional Airport.
Thank you, Mayor Rue. And just to give a little bit of background as to airport communications, similar to what the Fire Chief here at Londonderry mentioned. So the Airport Communications Center was contacted by Air Traffic Control Tower at Manchester-Boston Regional Airport at 07:25, advising of a pending aircraft emergency. Per our standard response protocol, our aircraft rescue and firefighting teams were put on standby, awaiting further information. So they responded to the runway environment and were awaiting further information. At approximately 07:28, the aircraft rescue firefighting team was further advised by Air Traffic Control Tower that an aircraft incident had occurred. Airport representatives led by Assistant Director Lou Elguizabal responded to the scene and to assist and support the Londonderry Fire Department and Londonderry Police Department in securing the site. The aircraft involved was Wiggins Airways Flight number 1046, a Beechcraft 99 aircraft, which had departed Manchester Boston Regional Airport en route to Presque Isle, Maine. The pilot was the only occupant on board, and as you heard from Fire Chief, he was extricated and transported to a local area hospital. There was no report of any property damage or injuries to the personnel on the ground, and the airport remains open and operational at this time. There are no impacts to flight operations. As the Mayor said, I would like to also extend my appreciation and my thank you to the men and women of LPD, LFD, as well as the surrounding jurisdictions for their quick response and the professional approach in dealing and handling with an unfortunate situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, our Airport Director. We'll now entertain any questions.
Fire Chief Butler, can I just ask you, can you talk for a minute just about the rescue of the pilot? You described, there's power lines down, there's fuel on the ground. It must have been a difficult situation for the firefighters.
It was. It absolutely was. It was one of those situations where there's not a lot of experience, so that's where training comes into play. It was a challenging environment because, as you can imagine, the fuselage is very compromised and damaged, so getting access to the pilot himself through the crews and through the rescue tools was very, very difficult. But ultimately, they pulled it off relatively quickly.
So can you describe how you actually rescued him? I mean, he was in the cockpit and you had to get to the twisted metal to reach him?
Yeah, that's correct. So the pilot was in the cockpit, and he was using the tools. The aircraft was removed around the pilot, and LFD personnel pulled him out through the front windshield into a stretcher and onto the ambulance.
What kind of condition was he in at that point?
I'm not willing to go into the patient's condition just for obvious reasons to protect the patient, but he was transported to a local hospital in southern New Hampshire, and I can tell you that he has since been transported to a Boston hospital at this time.
Can you say if he was responsive?
He was responsive.
Can you talk about, I mean, you said this was a high-risk rescue. Was this his lucky day?
Yeah, he ought to play the lottery for sure. This was a very significant emergency response that we responded to, and a lot of things could have gone wrong further than the aircraft crashing itself. So the mitigation efforts were very, very impactful and successful in this case.
I have a question for the airport director. That 725 emergency call that came in, can you tell us what the emergency was as it's happening in the air?
It was just a pending aircraft emergency. We don't usually get that information. It's just to notify our aircraft rescue and firefighter teams that there is an issue and that they need to go ahead and pre-position themselves in case there is an incident at the airport.
And then just for, like in layman's terms, what, you said the flight's going to Presque Isle.
Correct.
Was it enjoyment? What was the mission? What was the purpose?
The aircraft operator in question usually operates as what we call a small package cargo carrier. So cargo that comes into Manchester then gets put into smaller aircraft that go throughout all of northern New England, and Presque Isle is a normal location for this aircraft.
Do you know roughly how many miles it was from the airport going down?
I don't know exactly, but I seem to recall it's about 5.
4 or 5 miles.
Yeah, 5 1/4, right around there. Yeah.
How often does Wiggy's fly out of Manchester, possibly New Airport?
Daily operations are right around 15 to 20.
That one surface 50 is only twice a day.
On different aircraft, yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So just to be clear, the pilot took off and there were no problems. At what point did he radio the tower that he was going to have to make a crash?
It's my understanding it was shortly after takeoff that he radioed the tower.
That he was, I mean, was he instructed to turn around and come back?
I don't know that. That's going to come out in the investigation led by the NTSB and the Flight Services District Office, what we call the FSDO. They'll get into that and release a report at the right time after they review all the logs.
How much fuel was cleaned up at the actual site?
I'll defer to the chief on that one.
We had indications that there was roughly 250 gallons of jet fuel on board, which is now making its way into the territory. So that's why we had the hazmat team come in to start conducting that hazardous mitigation as soon as possible.
I was down there at the scene and I was told that the area was well water. Is that a concern to the town right now that there's jet fuel potentially going into well water?
Mr. Chair.
Water safety here in town is always a concern. We have a great level of confidence in the hazmat team and their duty to clean up. We'll be monitoring it closely. Anything further?
Chief,
Yes, sir.
you're familiar with the area there. I mean, how close was he to homes in the area? Was a tragedy averted today?
Absolutely. He was probably 70 feet from a residence, a single-family residence, right on where the lawn of this residence met the tree line of the woods. So it was very, very close.
Is that luck, or did he target landing there? I've never flown a plane.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Chief, what about the fact that there was no fire at the scene? That doesn't happen all the time.
No, it doesn't, and that was one of our questions. And I'll let the airport director speak to that. He could probably give you some better answer on it.
Yeah, why there was no fire, I do not know that for a scientific fact, but I think it was, as we said several times today, the pilot's lucky day. I don't know what exactly happened again as he was coming into the ground. Maybe he was arrested by something. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate as to what the cause was or the reason that there was not a fire, post-impact fire, but again, that's going to be something that the NTSB hopefully will cover in their accident report.
I guess did the trees cushion?
Don't know. I do not know what caused or what arrested his fall, if he was arrested at all. I don't know. I don't know, Chief, or you want to handle that one?
Yeah, right with that. The last report that I received is that all homes in the area do have power at this time, yes, and that the roadways are safe to operate Wiley Hill and Colonial Drive.
Chief, the pilot is the one that called 911.
The pilot is one of the callers of 911, yes.
So he was trapped in the wreckage and he was able to grab his phone and call for help.
My understanding, yes.
Did you have a reaction to that?
It's a lucky day, really lucky day.
He's not really a pilot, is manual in the plane and calling for his own help.
No, and then we had received an additional caller from an Eversource worker in the area who was the third-party caller stating that there's a plane down in the woods in the area of Wiley Hill and Colonial Drive.
Do you want to play the lottery or do you recommending everyone else play the
I mean, I think we all should play the lottery, but...
You mentioned this-
Yes, sir.
You mentioned this is a low-frequency event. How often do you guys do this kind of training? I'm sure you get to the airport and stuff, and you semi-regularly be ready for this kind of event.
We do. We do what's called ARF training. We try to do it on an annual basis. And with the relationship that we have with the Manchester-Boston Regional Airport's crash fire team, we're able to have a lot of good training, a lot of mutual aid, and interagency operability between the two.
Just double check, Eversource worker was in the area working at the time and saw the crash.
That's correct. That's correct.
Captain, can you talk about the investigation, how that works, who handles all that?
We're not going to comment on the investigation right now, but we, as Fire Chief Butler said, we notified the Department of Safety, State Police, who made additional notifications to our in-state transportation partners, as well as the Federal Aviation Administration. Most of that was handled through airport leadership, and I know that those folks were all responding to the scene and conducting their investigation. But other than saying that they've all been notified and they are involved, we're not going to comment on this at the investigation at this time. Great. Gentlemen, unless there's anything else to say?
Any further questions? We just like to close with saying we want to thank Mayor Rouet for being here. We love the support and the relationship that we have with Manchester. We work very cooperatively together and look forward to working with him and his administration. So thank you.
When was your last interaction in the airport about this whole thing?
Well, it's been a long time. I couldn't even put a year on it, but it's been a long time. For Londonderry,
Many years, you say?
many years ago, yeah.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.